Hello and welcome to another Do As We Do live. Where we believe in starting that conversation early and getting educated, because it's not about if you die, it's about if you live. My name's Kimberly Scott, and I am here today with two guests that we're having back, the father and daughter team, Steve and Grace Hayden, which we'll have on shortly, talking a lot about identity theft. They're going to share some wisdom with us. Before I bring them on, though, I do want to let you all know we are having a Facebook glitch. So we might not be Facebook Live just yet, but we are on YouTube and LinkedIn. So where I want to thank you all for joining us wherever you're joining us from. Our goal is to bring you valuable information each week. So please ask a question, leave a comment, let us know what's important to you. If this information, you find value in the information, please subscribe, hit or share with someone that you know that needs to. And last but not least, everybody knows somebody that's going through something right about now, especially in the caregiving world. So please, if you find value in this information, share it with them. It's very important, and share what we're doing here at DoAsWeDo. So I wanted to remind everybody that what a caregiver is. It is someone that is assisting a loved one with their daily needs, no matter their age, whether they're young, old, whether they have a disability or disease, mental disorder, it doesn't matter. And according to the National Alliance of Caregiving and the AARP, there are over 43.6 million plus people providing care for their loved ones that are doing it out of a labor of love and going unpaid, doing it while they work their regular job. So it could be a coworker, it could be a boss, it could be a friend, you name it, you probably know a caregiver. So they are, a lot of times untrained, they're unprepared, uncertain, and this life phase comes very unexpectedly to a lot. That could happen due to a stroke, or heart attack, and leaves their loved one unable to be able to care for themselves. So hold on 2 seconds. I just want to change this while I'm trying to multitask. We are I don't want to mess that up. Sorry guys, hold on a second. I'm just going to get out of that because I just don't want to see it. Anyways, sorry. This is what happens when you're going with it, you're rolling with it, and your backstage producer and technology isn't working for you. So that is why we started the DoAsWeDo Foundation, so that we could start helping those caregivers out there that are not even knowing that they're going to be a caregiver, or that they are a caregiver. We want to provide them with support, encouragement, educational content, build a supportive community around them, and help them however we can. And we are here for the long game. Every day since 2011, I want to remind people, every day since 2011, 10,000 people are turning 65 every single day. So we know there are plenty of people out there that are needing our help now and will need our help in the future. So with all that said, we're just going to go ahead and jump into our conversation. And before I do that, I want to make sure, before I introduce our guests, that we DoAsWeDo live show and the DoAsWeDo.org are for the purposes of caregivers, empowerment, encouragement, entertainment, and sharing educational stories and tips. The information and recommendations presented within each show are not intended to serve as the basis for any financial, medical, or legal decisions. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatments. Excuse me. Always seek the advice of your licensed physicians, financial experts, and lawyers when making decisions for yourself and other loved ones. Never disregard any professional advice you have received because of something you have heard or seen on this show. The hosts, guests, and sponsors disclaim any liability in the connection with the use of the information and recommendations to make legal, medical, or financial decisions. Wow. Okay. So I got that out of the way. And now I can introduce our guests as soon as I can bring them. Hold on, folks. Wait just a minute. Steve, oh my goodness. The father and daughter team are here to help me.
Hello.
It's easy from here on out.
Hayden, thank you so much for joining me today. And Kitty.
Somebody almost exited out of the podcast as you were bringing us up. So we're all having some technical difficulties today.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad I'm not the only person.
Yeah. Do you have our disclaimer also? I think we have to show our disclaimer to bore everybody about how we offer securities through Cetera Advisors.
Okay, go ahead and you read off. I thought that was the one that we were.
It is. Let me just so I get the brownie points with my compliance office. I know they wanted us to have it on here, but our securities and advisory services are offered through Cetera Advisors LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, a broker-dealer, and a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Normally we just throw that up there for everyone to read and understand, but there you go. I think it's the first time anyone's ever actually read the whole thing.
Well, we are home free now. Okay.
We're home free. Yeah, the lawyers have been here. But thanks for having us back, Kimberly. We're excited to be here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here and glad to be a part of what you're doing. This is very important work.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. So we're all hearing a lot about identity theft, right? And I know it's a big deal, but there are some people out there who might not think there's a big deal. So what's the big deal about it, and why should we worry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So identity theft comes in a couple different pieces. So identity theft itself is getting your information stolen. It can be your credit card, it can be your social security number, it can literally be your fingertips, your immigration documentation, driver's license, passports, visas, any of that. The problem with identity theft is what happens when those people that get your information do things with it, right? So fraud is what happens when your identity and information is stolen. And that itself can be incredibly costly. So according to a study, and this was as of 2017, there were 16 million fraud cases in the United States with almost $17 billion in losses.
Wow.
And that's billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
Yeah.
And that was 3 years ago, right?
Wow.
And well, coming up on 4, we're in 2021 now.
Right, yeah.
According to the U.S. Department of Justice, identity theft has surpassed drug trafficking as the #1 crime in America as of 2017 as well. So it's very prevalent. It's a huge problem. And we all should be on guard, because really my favorite thing to say in meetings is that it's not if your identity is stolen, it's when, really. Everyone has a story about a family member or a loved one. She needs a gym. She wants me to start.
I think also it's very relevant in the caregiving world.
Yeah.
Which is our audience here, because of the heightened vulnerability of everyone that's involved. And this extends not only to the caregivers, but the people receiving care as well. They're very vulnerable to having their identity stolen in ways that are just amazing to even think about.
Yeah.
Right. And fraud has overreaching consequences as well that are very costly. So your time is lost trying to gather the bits and pieces and get them protected again by changing license numbers, credit card numbers, getting a new social security number. That takes a lot of time. It can damage your reputation. It can damage your credit score. And that can be dangerous. Let's say you're going for a new job and they run a background check on you and some really funny things come up, and it turns out it wasn't even you. Someone stole your identity and used it for fraudulent purposes.
And like Steve said, those being cared for and those caring for them, their incomes are they might not, like if all they're relying on is their social security and their identity gets stolen and then money starts to, dwindle, that's something that they can't just go work another job to get back, right? Like their savings goes, and that's something that is awful that people are out there doing to, people who are already, going through something, in their life that they weren't planning on.
Yeah.
So,
and that time to regulate that situation can be costly as well. Because let's say your email is hacked and you contact someone and say, send $15,000 from my accounts, and that someone sends it. Well, to prove that it wasn't you and get the banks to reverse it and all that time fighting and getting different legal parties involved can be months. And if you're caring for someone else, you're already stretched pretty thin. That can start to have overreaching consequences of overdraft fees, relying on credit cards and building back up your credit card debt to kind of finance that period of time where things are being regulated.
Yeah. What's the first thing we should be doing if we're feeling vulnerable?
Yeah, so there's some really simple things that you can be doing if you're feeling vulnerable. The first thing that everyone should do if they haven't already is freeze their credit. If you're not buying something or financing something soon, you really don't need to have your credit open. So you can freeze it so that no one can get access to your credit and use it, right? Only you can unfreeze it.
And
it's go ahead.
And do you have to go to each one of those sites to freeze it?
You do. You have to go to the 3 major credit reporting agencies, so TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax.
Okay.
And you're going to want to freeze your credit with each of them. They're going to give you a PIN number, and that's the catch. It sounds really simple, and you're like, why doesn't everyone do this? They give you this PIN number, and if you lose it, it takes an act of Congress to reset it. You have to show up in person to these agencies and prove that you are who you say you are to get a new PIN. So it is paramount. I personally don't have any tattoos. If I did get one, it would be that PIN code somewhere very private that no one can see because it's that serious.
Okay, good to know.
It's huge. It used to cost, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 to freeze it. But after the big credit reporting breaches where they were hacked and everyone's information was exposed, they passed a bill and now it's free. So there's really no reason to not do it.
Yeah.
On top of that, check your accounts every day. Don't go long periods of time without checking your accounts because things will slip by. So you want to be accustomed to the activity in your accounts when things are coming out, and just make sure that everything that's happening is something that you've set up and you've pushed go on, if you will.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of routines. I have a routine for almost everything. And so I make checking my accounts and my credit part of my morning routine. I've gotten it down to where it takes about 15 seconds. And I just check in on all the accounts that I need to be checking in on. And so I know the situation, and if something goes south, I can catch it before it becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
So I think a routine, working it into your routine is very important.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is get copies of your credit history and your credit report. Look for inaccuracies there or discrepancies. You can look at your driving record online. Look at that. That's important. Medical history as well. That's another thing people should be looking at. And
medical history.
Yeah. And so you don't have time to do that all the time. So I also recommend people signing up for a credit monitoring service.
Okay.
Some people may feel like it's not worth it. It does cost a monthly subscription fee, but it can be a lot less expensive than having your identity stolen and accounts hacked. So
and a lot of credit cards and banks nowadays will give you at least a notification that says something suspicious has been, somebody has applied for something or these hit, so at least maybe that might give you some, a ding to go, okay, maybe I should go invest, go check it out now. Right.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point, Kimberly. One of the most irritating things about credit cards is they will review each charge. And if they have a question, they're going to hold it and contact you. And that is very irritating until I realize it's not irritating. It's for my protection.
Yeah.
And it is actually the best blessing in the world
Yeah.
because I need someone watching over my shoulder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they have gotten really good about sending you texts also and wanting you to confirm. But it leads me to another great point of something you can do right now. If you're sitting at home watching this, I want you to reach over into your purse or to your nightstand where your wallet is. Grab your wallet out. Yeah. Look through, make sure it's skinny. You shouldn't have every single credit card in there and tons of cash and your social security card. If that's in there, take that out right now and get up, go put it somewhere safe and secure. I cannot tell you how many people have admitted they still carry around their social security card.
Does. My mom did too. I do think that's a generational thing. It's just until like it slowly started to, like not be something that, you're supposed to put it away in a file, right? But my mom definitely carried that for a long time.
That's a good point about it being generational because we do have a lot of caregivers on here caring for elderly parents. So if you're noticing signs of your parents, needing a little more help, a really helpful thing you can do, take their social security card out of their wallets because if they leave it somewhere and they may not remember they put it in there. So you may not know it's missing until you go to apply for some sort of benefit and boom, you can't find it.
Yeah, for sure. What in the world of robocalls, what should we, be on guard about?
Yeah. So number one rule, never respond to unsolicited calls asking for your information. The Social Security Administration's not going to call you. They are so hard to get.
And neither is the IRS.
Right. Exactly.
These government organizations are not going to be calling you and tracking you down. You come to them. So if you get a call saying some common ones that I hear from clients are calls about your social security number being involved in some sort of crime. And now your social security number is invalid and you need to call them immediately so that you can get your social security benefits back or something like that.
Yeah.
You can also Google the language when they call and you get a weird robocall. Google it. There will be threads that say, I received a call today. And multiple people will say, I received that same call. There's even sites that have a record of these fraudulent calls and it may be listed on there. So do some research, think before responding and just take a moment and do some digging and see what you can find.
Yeah.
But never give your information out to anybody. A big one also was with the stimulus checks. People were getting phone calls that they thought were from the government trying to give them their stimulus check.
Yeah.
Not the case. So with these new rounds of stimulus, be on guard of that. Warn your loved ones. Another thing that I could foresee happening with the vaccine, depending on how they're notifying people. If you get a call saying, okay, you're up next in line, and we just need your credit card number to hold your place in line for the vaccine.
Yeah.
Never
respond with personal information.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian says, my aunt's mother got a call that her grandson is in jail and needed to wire money ASAP. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Yes, that happens a lot. And they definitely, I almost feel like, do they prey on people that are, how do they know? Like, how do they know that these people are elderly or might not, it just frustrates me, because it seems like they are older people that every single time that gets taken for that.
Yeah, it is spectacular how much personal information is readily available on the internet to dishonest people. And they can build a profile on you just with bits and pieces of information that is out there. And so they have an idea of, you might be an elderly person, you might be receiving care. They can track you by zip code. They know zip codes with a lot of care facilities. They're very clever. They're very clever. So that means we have to be on guard all the time.
They're manipulative. They'll involve, like that call that he mentioned, will involve urgency. Need to wire the money ASAP and manipulate you with your grandkids. Your grandkids need the money ASAP. So it's hard to not feel emotional when you get a call like that and react. So
it's kind of funny. They didn't get the same reaction when they tried to prey on your child needs help.
So, grandkids.
They move to grandchildren.
Yeah, they can stay in jail, but the grandchildren will get them. We'll help them.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And they've tested it a few times. They know how to get people.
Yeah.
So.
And along with the phishing emails that people, that we all, if you were in corporate America, you all being in finance, I know, everybody's super hyper protective with firewalls, but when it comes to not just phishing emails, like now there's text messages coming to your cell phone a lot. That was on the news. And I know plenty of people who got notifications from, supposedly Amazon that your notification was, your package was, and to click on it. Well, if you didn't ask for that notification within your Amazon, then you don't click on that, because then they get into your cell phone, right? Like there's, I know people who, they were sent a Facebook message or an Instagram message or something on social media, and they clicked on it, like if you don't know them, don't respond. Delete, right?
Agreed. Be wary of links as well. So you'll get emails that'll say, there's been an update to your bank. You need to log in. And pay attention to the emails where it came from. Same with the texts. Sometimes the link won't be related to Amazon or whatever it is that they're saying they're from. That's your clue number one. And the problem is when you do click on the links, usually it'll bring you to a page where you have to log into something, and it's a site that you use, because these people do have a ton of information. And that's how they get your login, and then can start to steal things about your identity that they will use for nefarious purposes. So it's, be very wary of any time there's an unsolicited link as well. It's usually not a good thing. And report it. If you have Outlook, I know you can report things as phishing. I'm sure Gmail has similar functions. Not as familiar. We use Outlook for business, but
what's the easiest way for criminals, would you say, to get your, I think your 5-year, there was something that I read about, 5-year credit, like your overall tax reports or something like that, or was it more? I'm probably
stealing your mail. They can get a lot of information just from stealing your mail. And that's a big thing that happens around Christmas time, at least in Atlanta. Lots of things that get stolen around Christmas time, packages, but your mail, always get it in a timely manner, because you can find a lot of things from people's mail. So a good way to safeguard against that is using e-delivery. So any sort of tax things that are coming out now, sometimes it's convenient to get that by mail, because you may forget to log in and download, for example, your 1099s. So you'll get them in the mail, but that has a lot of your information on it. It has your social, your name, your address, your account numbers. So it's best to do everything with e-delivery. If you work with financial professionals, call them. They're more than happy to track things down, and can even send it directly to your tax professionals.
Right. Yeah. Another thought on mail and having mail stolen is it's possible to get a locking mailbox. You have to replace your mailbox. It's difficult to install a lock on your existing mailbox, but if it comes to it, that might be an easy solution. You can buy a locking mailbox at your home center store. They're not terribly expensive, and they're easy to install. So that's a solution for that as well.
Yeah, and in terms of home break-ins, a good idea is it's safe. Wait, we have a question that looks like.
We have a question. Brian said, the person that you're caring for passes away. What should happen in terms of get credit cards and credit reports closed out?
Well, the first thing you should do is notify the credit card company of the death, and they will freeze the account. Yeah, they'll handle it from there. The important thing is to put the word out. And you should let banks know, let any creditors know. And so that's why it's important to have a list of important documents, a list of accounts, a list of loans, obligations, so that your caregivers and family members can know where to start. But it all starts with a phone call to all of these providers.
And what would you say? That's a great segue into personal records, keeping those at home or a file cabinet, or would you just say the safe? I mean, not everybody can afford a safe, because they're not inexpensive. At least one that can't easily be get into. So what would you recommend?
Well, it's great to just be organized if you can. So if you don't have even a filing cabinet, have a folder with all your things in a safe, tucked away place, and tell your family where that is. Because if something happens to you, they're going to need to find that to find out where your accounts are. It's ridiculous. Where your accounts are. And even passwords are an important thing as well to keep track of for family. If you can afford it, some sort of locking safe would be ideal as well, but a lot of people can't. So maybe if you have a place at your office, if you have a private office, I wouldn't if you work in a big firm with lots of other employees. But the main thing is just have a designated place that's kind of tucked away. I think when most people's homes get broken into, which this is kind of sad to think about, but I don't think they usually go straight for the filing cabinet if it's tucked away in a very far away place. They're going to look for jewelry and electronics that are valuable to resell. So,
and as you said, passwords. Don't put your passwords where people like keeping them in an electronic file on your computer. Probably not the safest place. There are a lot of. I use LastPass. It's the software. Google has something. There are a lot of different things that you can use electronically now that will save them, that will change up your passwords if you want to. I have a friend that she writes everything down, and I'm like, why do you do that?
Why do you do that? And while we're on the subject, no more of this password one stuff, guys. No more Outlook one, password one, bank account one, password. Be a little creative.
Definitely, especially for your loved one's sake, to be able to. I mean, I know that a caregiver has a lot going on. So if it's, if you do have to write them down, put the information in a safe place. But don't do the one stop, 1, 2, 3, 4 password, because we all know it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We'll say it again. It doesn't work.
Doesn't take a genius to figure those ones out.
What are some other things that we should be doing that are really simple and easy, right?
So I recommend getting a shredder. Shredders can also be cost prohibitive. So some other ideas, if you don't have a shredder to shred documents that are important and have your information, but you don't necessarily need to hold on to anymore. Some ideas are having a bonfire with the family, burn those. Also have a friend who likes to soak their important documents in the sink, then use it for like paper mache after they've soaked for several hours and the ink is gone and you can't read anything. Do an art project. Just make sure all the information that could be sensitive has been dissolved in the water and it's pure mush. Totally illegible. But that's a really good creative and budget-friendly solution. You can even, turn it into a party with some kids if you have kids. An afternoon on a rainy day, do some paper mache.
The burning solution that might get you in trouble with some cities because there's burn ban. I mean, my dad lives in the outskirts of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and there's no burning. I mean, there is burning; it's okay, but within the city, there's no burning. So I don't know how it is in Atlanta, Georgia, but
also be on the lookout, because a lot of organizations will have a free shredding day where an organization will hire a shredding truck and you can bring your documents and just shred them right there in the truck. It's kind of an interesting process to watch it happen. These big mechanical shredders, they destroy it all.
My mom, when I moved my mom out of her house, I paid a company to come to me, shout out to Sun City, and I paid and to watch everything. And there were 10 huge boxes of old paperwork, old files, like she had a home office because she worked for like just old stuff, like stuff that just I didn't know whose it was, and I didn't care. I just didn't want it to be out there, right? So I paid the company to come pick it up, and I watched them as they put it in, and it just made me feel more at peace. She was like, well, we could just I was like, no, we can't just take it to one place. It doesn't, and it's too much for a small shredder. We would ruin, because she has a small but might as well just, I wanted to feel more at ease because not all of it was hers. And I felt obligated because I'm paranoid about my own information. So
that's right.
There are companies that will come to you if you can't find one that holds a day that you can go and do that
Yeah, and maybe organize with friends. Maybe you've got a lot of friends that need to do some cleaning up, and you guys can split the cost and have a fun time. Turn it into a party. When in doubt, turn it into a party.
Turn it into a party.
Yeah. Other things, virus protection, firewalls, all of those things are also massively important. Depending on what kind of computer you buy, it might even come with something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not an IT person, so I definitely default to my IT gurus that I know and what to do.
It does not come with it. They make you pay for it, but it's worth it. I mean, it's very inexpensive nowadays. It's worth it. Like you said, the billions of dollars that people are losing from identity theft, and fraud, it is 100% worth the not having that headache.
Yeah, just make yourself a little bit harder to hack and they'll move on. You don't want to be that person they move on to. So make yourself harder to hack.
Yeah. The same thing can be said with more expensive options, such as credit monitoring services. They're not cheap, but let's talk about cheap and expensive. It's really a discussion of the value. And Kimberly, as you said, once you have a problem, you'll pay anything to get it corrected. So that's more expensive than just having a credit monitoring service and taking some of these steps in the first place. So that's something to consider. You can Google different credit monitoring systems that are available.
Yeah. And knowing a friend, several people, especially one that had the biggest headache, she had her purse stolen, had to do the whole freezing of everything. It took several years for her to get it where it was clean again, like, and not even clean, like, she kept it frozen until she went to go buy a house. But there was so much of a headache for at least 5 years after that she always had to keep up with. And
and let's touch again on freezing your credit, because when you freeze your credit, it doesn't mean that you can no longer use your credit cards or anything like that. It doesn't affect what you've already got set up. There's no change in your lifestyle. It just prevents other people from going into your credit file and opening a new credit card in your name, or applying for a mortgage if your credit is frozen. Anybody that has to check your credit, they'll be unable to. So it prevents outside people from getting access to your credit to open up accounts without your knowledge. But you can still use your credit cards.
I'm going to freeze her credit.
You should do it today.
She doesn't need it, right? So
is she buying a house soon, or needs to finance a car or apply for a new credit card? If you didn't answer yes to those, then
she told me she was going to buy a little red sports car. I don't know what she's telling you, but
no, not anymore. She had one a long time ago, but not anymore. So. But you make a good point. Like, I never knew that it doesn't affect what you currently already have, and that you can do it. And like you said, if you're not going to get a house, a car, or one of those things, like you said, Grace, then it makes a lot of sense what Steve said of that it's just for the afterwards. So.
So you maintain your credit cards as usual. You pay your mortgage as usual. You just don't open up more credit cards or get a new mortgage while your credit's frozen.
Sure. Absolutely. And when that time comes to buy a new car or to refinance your house or something, you can unfreeze your credit for 24 hours. That allows those legitimate agencies access to your credit file for a short period of time. Then it's frozen from there on. And you can do that as often as you want. It's really not that difficult. You can do it online.
And realistically, those life changes happen maybe every 10 years or so. And so that's why I'm telling you, if you don't have any tattoos, the one you should get, that PIN code to unfreeze your credit. Or if you're super organized, this is why it's important to stay organized. Keep it in your files wherever you keep those, and know where it is, because you will wind up tearing through your whole house trying to find it, that little piece of paper. So
cool. It's great advice. I definitely learned something new about freezing your credit, and the fact that it can be done online, and the fact that I have to keep a little pin with me. I will be, freezing my mother's credit this weekend. And I suggest other caregivers do the same to ensure that, those things don't happen to their loved ones, because it is definitely more, especially if they're living on a fixed income. You don't want it to cause the amount of money that's going to cause you to get everything cleaned up is just,
it's massive.
for sure. So I appreciate you guys so much. Will you tell folks how they can connect with you if they want to learn more about, what you all do and the, and your services?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you guys can go to gracehayden.net or stevehayden.net. That's HAYDEN.net.
It's also there on the screen. Yay!
Yay! And yeah, if you have a specific question, we have a question section on the website. You can drop your question. It goes straight to us and we'll get in touch with you. We're available by phone or email. All of our contact information is on there. And when we're not on podcasts talking about identity theft, we are financial advisors. So happy to answer any questions you guys have, or if you want a second set of eyes or opinion, reach out. We'd love to talk to you.
Yes, definitely. Well, we appreciate you all very much for being here today. And folks, remember that staying on track. If you are, we're here to build a sports community. Grace and Steve are a part of that community. They are definitely great. If you have questions about any of this, we highly recommend you reaching out to them. We will continue to put out information. And thank you again, Steve and Grace, for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kimberly. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this great organization.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay.
Doing as you do.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I just want to give a quick little shout out to our sponsors. I'm going to put them up real fast so I can read them so I don't mess up. I'm a Soap Addict, Salon D, Approved Shield, Spherex, Hustle Aesthetics, Short Productions, Rich B, Blue Jay Nutra, and AK Realty. We thank you guys so much for supporting our cause. And remember, we want to be prepared. It does take a village, we were brought into this world with, and we will need help getting out of this world. It is definitely, we're all passionate about, and we want to continue these efforts. So please, if you know somebody that could use a little help, send them to DoAsWeDo.org. And until next Tuesday, sharing is caring. Thanks, you guys.